I recently had the opportunity to be involved with Semester at Sea. This has always been a goal of mine, and I heard from my friend that it was an amazing experience. So I filled out the application. It was a very long process. There was so much to fill out. I wasn't really nervous about being accepted, and once I got the acceptance letter, I had so many questions. Are my friends involved, accepted as well? Will I like it? So I went to the office and I told them that I was deaf and that I needed an interpreter. And they said, sorry, but we can't provide you with an interpreter. And I was just so upset. I didn't want to give up. I really still wanted to go, so I got in contact to figure out if the interpreting services could be provided to me. And after corresponding with many people, it just seemed like I wasn't going to be able to find one. So I started looking for grants to pay for the interpreter to come with me at the Semester at Sea, and I was searching everywhere, but I just couldn't find it. The departure date was coming soon, and I needed $5,000, but I was completely broke. So I'm scrambling to figure out how exactly I would do that. I thought maybe a scholarship would be available to me. So I applied for the scholarship, and I was accepted. And I also applied for a loan. And man, I worked so hard. I continued to work all day, all night. I really had my mind set on it. I wanted to go to Semester at Sea, and I didn't care how much I worked. I wanted to go now, so I just continued working as hard as I could. I hadn't yet told my parents about my plan until about May, and we were supposed to leave in August, so finally in May, I sat down with my parents and I let them know everything I was planning. I'm going away for a year to go to school, and they were shocked, but I told them I really wanted to travel. So they started asking the usual questions. How are you going to be able to do this? Do you have the money? And I let them know that I had been saving and all the steps that I took until this point in time. And they just kept thinking, well, my only daughter, and they were worried about me. So I told my parents I had the money, I was accepted, and it was time to get ready to go. But I was a little bit nervous because I was the only deaf person in this whole ship. As a part of the program, you have to be enrolled in classes. So I took philosophy class, a religious class, and you all had to take some kind of core class. So there was 4 classes total, and they were all lecture classes, which was very difficult for me because everyone was able to contact the hearing professor, but I decided to also get in corresponding to the professor. So I started reading the book. It was very complicated to understand, but there was so much involved in the book, all the different kinds of cultures, and I started preparing for these classes as soon, and the departure date was coming closer. I really wanted to get a lot of experience. So there were several different countries we went to: Japan, China, India, Kenya, South Africa, Brazil, and Cuba. The experience was so amazing. I could not even begin to explain. All the different sites that I was exposed to were just amazing. There's only a few times that I struggled with communication because of my being deaf, but those struggles did not even compare. The entire trip was definitely worth it. I actually saw some deaf schools while we were there in Cuba, and I went and visited them. It was such an amazing experience. And I noticed that some of the signs that they used were also same as ours. Their behavior and personality, it was much like that of deaf culture in America. I made a lot of friends, and we are still pen pals to this day. I had no idea that in India they use British Sign Language. I thought that was pretty interesting. In Cuba, they also used a kind of sign language. It was more of a Spanish-based sign language, but I don't know any Spanish. We were able to communicate through gesture mostly, but man, it was such an amazing experience. For 100 days we traveled. When we finally went back to the U.S., I just did not want to. I wanted to continue. I wanted to continue my travels, and as soon as I stepped off the plane onto U.S. soil, I just felt like I needed to go back. There was no parents, no one to tell me what I had to do, and that is one experience that I will never forget.